And before I begin, I would like to express my gratitude for being able to be here and present for you, to Professor Korchin for inviting me. Mrs. and Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I will be speaking today about the paradigm of creating wellness as an evolutionary paradigm for medicine. I do not have any disclosure of interest except that I'm a health and wellness coach and trainer, so I want to state this. So the purpose of my presentation today is to show you the way, lead you through the wellness paradigm, from the medical paradigm towards the wellness paradigm. And in order to achieve this, I will be talking about the scientific rational stage of evolution that we are in right now, and we have been talking about it already in the morning. I will place it in the context of the evolution of human consciousness, and I will present in this context, I will frame the medical paradigm, then I will lead you through wellness theory, coaching basics, and we'll discuss the wellness paradigm with implications for the practice of medicine. So we have talked about the body-mind split, the Cartesian split, which dates back to the 17th century, and therefore we found ourselves in a cultural paradigm of scientific rationality, characterized by fragmentation, hierarchy, bureaucracy, mechanization, linear progression, analysis, and logic. And if we look at the evolutionary theory by Ken Wilber, by an American philosopher and writer and visionary futurist, this is just a part of a larger AQAL theory, all quadrants, all levels. It presents just the culture part of it. So if we look where we are at the scientific rational paradigm, we can see where we can move forward in our evolution. And what do I mean by evolution of human consciousness? It dates back to the work of a French Jesuit, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who said that not only biologically were we evolving as a species, but also that human consciousness was evolving. And building on his work, a beautiful philosopher that I met in Paris 2 years ago, Barbara Marx Hubbard, she utterly invites us to become co-creators of life, to be vessels for the impulse of evolution and manifest through us, act on the world. So not be a mere creature, but become a co-creator in the world. And what do I mean by consciousness? For the objective of this presentation, I related to mindfulness. I related to being present in every moment. I related to being response-able instead of being responsive, so driven by instincts and habitual patterns. So in this rational linear consciousness that we live in, we live in it at the expense of trans-rational forms of knowing, such as intuition, that are archetypically linked to femininity and feminine values, such as nurturing care, connectedness, intention, intuition, access to emotions, whole body awareness, a quality of being, living in the flow as opposed to willing to control, and spiral development. So let's now tap into the medical paradigm, and let's try to describe it. So the medical paradigm is derived from the scientific rational level of development of human consciousness. In a way, it's reductionist, because it mainly relates to the physical body of, for example, a patient. And it's also derived from a patriarchal view of, in medicine. So what does this linear approach to health look like? Well, first of all, we identify the problems through tests. Then we administer a science-based solution, pharmaceutical, manipulative, surgical, and evaluate the impact of the solution on the problem, where sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And when I was preparing for this presentation, when I was reading through literature, I came about a couple of metaphoric roles of medical doctors within the medical paradigm. The first of which is the role of a mechanic, somebody who repairs the physical body of the patient. Talking enhancement, this is this role. Another one is that of a warrior, someone who has bullets to fight the disease in the body of the patient. Then there is the role of a magician, also called the pill fairy. The magician is somebody who pulls out a solution, and the patient does not necessarily understand why and what for. And the last one is that of a medical deity that I encountered in a book by Bernie Siegel. So somebody who's, and we also talked about it, playing God, predicting death based on statistics, or also taking it as a personal failure when the patient dies. So the medical doctor is, within this medical paradigm, an expert treatment provider whose reason to be is to fix the patient. And the medical doctor sources authority in science, of course. And to what extent, I've conducted a research study in Poland among students of last years of medical school. And I asked them a question, how do you see the future of medicine? Can I have some help with that, please? And they responded that the future of medicine was brilliant, was positive, obviously. And why? Because of science and technology, because of the research and the scientific background that it has. So when we talk about evolving the paradigm from the treatment paradigm to the wellness paradigm, I would like to walk you through some basics of the wellness theory. A colleague of mine from the United States, Jad Allen, conducted a survey and surveyed prominent wellness professionals and about their definitions of wellness. And here's a synthesis of what he came about with. So wellness is a conscious, self-directed, and evolving process of achieving full potential. Wellness is multidimensional and holistic. It's positive and affirming, and it's a process, never a static state. A process of becoming aware of and making choices toward a more successful existence. My own definition of wellness that I framed, becoming fully alive and expressed in and for the world, stems from humanistic psychology. The process of becoming fully alive is being in the moment, being present, being mindful. Expressed is Abraham Maslow's being need of self-actualization in the world, because we are part of the world and everything is interconnected. And for the world, because wellness is not mere well-being. Wellness is not how we feel inside, but also how we act in the world. So it's well-being plus well-doing, being of service to the world. And here are some, if we want to trace back, not chronologically, but major models from the wellness theory. The wellness wheel created by John Travis with 12 dimensions. So when I'm talking about multidimensional health, and wellness. This is what I understand. A model by Donald Ardell, which puts self-responsibility as a central concept. The model used by the National Wellness Institute, the 6 Dimensions of Wellness by Bill Hedler, where there is physical, social, intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and occupational. And interestingly, the World Health Organization's definition of health from 1948, which has not been amended since, is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So as we see, health and wellness go together. This is a model by John Travis again, the illness-wellness continuum that you may be familiar with, because I know it's part of medical education in many countries. So what does this model tell us? First of all, it tells us that the wellness paradigm is inclusive of the treatment paradigm, that it is not here to replace the treatment paradigm, but to work in harmony with it. Secondly, it tells us that there are many degrees of wellness, just as there are many degrees of disease, signs, symptoms, disability. And also that within the treatment paradigm or the medical paradigm, we can bring a person to the neutral point where there is no discernible illness or wellness, but that every human being is invited to move as much to the far right-hand side of the model as possible. Another model, the iceberg model of health and disease. It says that the state of health, what manifests in the physical realm, has its roots deeper under the surface of the water, so in the lifestyle behavioral level, in the psychological motivational level, and the spiritual realm. So if we address a physical illness, we may think that the root cause of it may be somewhere deeper. And also the treatment or the intervention should concern more than one level. And powerful questioning, the Socratean method, has been traditionally attributed to coaching. And I would like to share some questions before we move on to discussing coaching that are shared by medical doctors that I would name evolutionaries. For example, Dr. Lissa Rankin, who published the book Mind Over Medicine in 2013. And there's a new book of her that's just about fear and love, relative to one of the presentations, that the constant contradiction that we have within us. And the questions to reach deeper are, so what do you think might lie at the root of your illness? What does your body need in order to heal? Or others, by other medical doctors. What does the illness mean to you? Or what purpose in your life does the illness serve? Why did you need it? What is your subconscious telling you? What is manifesting in your body? So these kinds of questions are questions that are maybe used during coaching. Coaching is basically a series of conversations which consists of, according to International Coach Federation, partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. And wellness coaching, in the words of a colleague of mine, Dr. Michael Arlosky, wellness coaching is the application of the principles and processes of professional life coaching to the goals of lifestyle improvement for higher levels of wellness. So, what is it about coaching that makes it so special? Well, in the coaching mindset, the other person is treated as naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. In a coaching setting, the agenda never comes from the coach. It always comes from the client, from the patient. There is no expert relationship. And it's a designed alliance upon agreement. So a health and wellness coach is a trusted ally in a patient's health and wellness journey, who supports the natural healing force within the patient and inspires change through powerful questioning, and is of support to the evolutionary patient in self-responsible decision-making relative to health and wellness. There are three kinds of relationships that have been identified in healthcare, relationships that aim at enhancing health. The first one is the one that is prevalent in the medical field, diagnosis plus I'll tell you what to do. And the rates of non-compliance in the world are very high. In the US alone, in 2012, they cost the healthcare system from $100 billion to $290 billion, and it's a meta-analysis from the Journal of Internal Medicine. The second kind of relationship is that of a health educator with a patient. So the health educator has all this wonderful information and says to the patient, well, or to the person, well, here's the information, just need to do it. And again, this information comes to the head, but it does not come through the heart to the hands, and people also do not comply. And therefore comes the health and wellness coach, who's here to move the patient through readiness to change stages and explore the obstacles and lead him towards success. I would like to mention, I'm very inspired by the healing relationship as described by the founding father of humanistic psychology, Carl Rogers. The healing relationship is a kind of unique relationship which is pretty basic. It consists of genuineness and transparency and showing loving care and acceptance to the person. And even a couple of hours spent within such a relationship can positively affect the personality or attitudes of a patient. So this is kind of a relationship where the patient is seen, like if you have seen the movie Avatar, the way they greet each other is, I see you. What a beautiful way of greeting each other. So I would also like to point to differences between psychotherapy and coaching. Psychotherapy, and of course this is a very simplified way of looking at it because there are various psychological approaches, but basically psychotherapy being in the treatment paradigm provides treatment and is an expert-patient relationship. It's a therapeutic relationship. It's not equal, it's not a partnership. And it's focused also on repairing the client. And it's helping dealing with past trauma, which means that it's past-oriented, while coaching is present-oriented and future-oriented. And also focused on bringing the best out of the client, of the patient, and supporting their full potential. So the wellness paradigm, and I would like to ask you a question just very quickly for yourselves. Answer this question for yourself. Who's responsible for health? Where would you tick a mark on this line? Where is it? Whose responsibility is for the health of the patient? In an evolutionary paradigm that I'm talking about, the patient is empowered and takes full responsibility for health and wellness journey. I know I've been hearing that not all patients are ready for this kind of responsibility. The doctor and the patient form a trustful adult-to-adult partnership when I've been reflecting about the partnership between a medical doctor and a patient, I've been thinking about, and I source it also from transactional analysis, it's a kind of parent-child relationship. And with the upcoming of the internet and the availability of health information, this child grew up to become a teenager who contests the medical doctor's decisions. And medical doctors openly talk about the fall of authority.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but we are running out of time.
Okay, right. So, so very quickly I want to show that what I'm advocating for is a multi-level healing connection between the medical doctor and the patient at all levels, not only relative to the physical realm. Evolutionary medical doctors name it that, for example, that they see themselves as healers and guides, that they joke that they practice love with a little medicine on the side, that medicine is a spiritual practice. And also that my job as a physician is not only to find the right treatment, but to help the patient find an inner reason for living, resolve conflicts, and free healing energy. So I came up with a model of a healing team, an example of a healing team, where the patient is in the middle, and the patient has various kinds of relationships with various experts, one of them the medical doctor, and is supported by the health and wellness coach in their journey. So the evolution of mindset, I shall say, if I was to name it with questions. So how can I treat or cure the patient? How can I provide both my expertise and a healing relationship to the patient? And how can I support the patient in understanding the meaning of her illness and mobilize her self-healing capacities?
I'm very sorry, but you must come to your conclusion.
Yes, we are coming. I'm finishing right now. So within this healing team, when you're thinking of if there are contradictory prescriptions, there's the integrated health and wellness plan that provides cohesion and facilitates communication. So the evolved patient is highly conscious, loves herself, and is self-responsible. So this slide concludes my presentation. It shows the treatment versus the wellness paradigm. So we have, you can read through it. And the 7 key implications for the practice of medicine are to be on a health and wellness journey yourself as a medical doctor, and see healing as a creative process, and support patients in achieving their full potential. And I have a dream. And this dream is about every patient and every human being even, but every patient basically having access to evolutionary health and wellness coaching, to this kind of reinforcing relationship. And I also dream of a culture of creating wellness, a culture where nurses, medical doctors, pharmacists use the coaching mindset in their work.
I think that's an excellent conclusion with a team.
It's my last slide, right? Okay. And also in the domain of family life, when we educate our children, shall we tell them, I'll give you this pill and you'll be well? Or shall we ask them, what can you do to mobilize, what does your body need to heal? And in the end, I would like to invite you to wake up to your own co-creative power in the world as day by day, choice by choice, thought by thought, word by word, we create our lives. Thank you very much.